So, what do you do when your children do not want to help out at home? So, let's talk about this because it's a question right here. I'm going to just read the question because I think it's a great question. Now, whether your children are little or teenagers, probably it's a little bit different when they're a little bit older. But I think this is a great question that helps us to almost understand that the answer is not one thing, the answer is usually many things. And let me explain. So, let me read the question. Any scripts, ideas for explaining to the 11-year-old daughter contribution? So in the women's school, we talk about contribution as our ability to be able to serve and bring in value. Okay, whether it's our family life, it's our community, and the word contribution, I think she's a student in the master class, is a way for us to think it's not just chores. It's really because what you offer is essential to the stability of the home, the function of the home, and that gives them purpose and meaning. That it's not like, help for the sake of help, but help because it really does change our quality of life. So it's some form of value. All right. She did not want to help in the grocery shop last Sunday. And it really, really frustrated me. After a few minutes in the grocery store, I told her to just let go. I mean, just go in the back of the cart because her attitude wasn't worth it. I told her essentially, if you don't work, you don't eat. Hey, sometimes that is what you have to tell them. Like our kids have become so weak that we're sometimes afraid to say things that are, I think, essential for our children. I'm not, like condoning abuse, but I do think that we have softened even our language with the kids. It's like, well, do you want to help or do you want to not help? It's like, no, if you don't help, like you don't have opportunities. Like that's how it was 150 years ago, 250 years ago, where they had farms, and if they didn't help, they didn't eat. Like it was just a way of life. So anyways, I'm just validating, even though I know it's sort of, okay, it says, if you don't work, you don't eat, in those exact words. I just need help to what to say. If someone couldn't point me out to the recording that January did of kids and contribution, a search and found a few things, but nothing specific to kids unwilling to contribute. All right, so I think that's a good word, unwilling to contribute. Okay, so all right, so when I say it's not one thing, it's multiple things because let's get to the source of what's the reason why a child does not want to contribute. Number one, maybe she is tired. Maybe she doesn't know how to contribute. Maybe she doesn't have the automatic skill set to say, this is what I do. There's no standard in her life that says, you know what? I'm called to just contribute and help with my mom, and that's just the way it is. So there's could be multiple reasons, right? And our role as parents is to study the source of why they don't want to contribute, not just focus on the solution. That too, like what's the script, what's the strategy, what's the solution, all the S's that we talk about that are really important. But what's also the source of it? The reason why that's important is that you want to make sure you're paying attention to all the different layers of her development, her formation, so that you can identify something, the source, so that you fix it from the source. So let me give you an example. If you say, okay, you have a script, like, in this house, we help out, but maybe the source is that she's eating a lot of red dye food or a lot of sugar and she's too tired and she doesn't have command of her body. And so you could give her a script and you could give her a strategy, but the source isn't being addressed. And so we want to be able to address some of these sources. Now, we don't have all the answers all the time, but you, as a mother, you're constantly thinking, source, how is this actually, how is this impacting the present moment? What's the source of it? So that you're always thinking of the multiple layers in which your child's development is to be aided, right? It's the food they're eating. Is it their quality of mental health? Is their skill level? So you're thinking of that. And it's not just a script and a strategy. So there's that part. So let's just talk about strategy a little bit. Let me give you a story. So when I have 8 children, and I had 4 under 4 and then 4 under 5. And the different seasons of my motherhood, it wasn't until I had 4 kids under 4 and I started to kind of explore the ability of building a business that we had somebody help us, like actually hired somebody to help us. And then as I continued to kind of learn more about the business, we had an au pair and we had just some live-in help. And then I had 2 babies, and that sort of was very helpful for me to have help. But that help, which was a great help for me, was not a great help for my kids. Meaning they were getting entitled to some of the foundational basic trainings, because even though I was I'm really intentional about trying to get them to help, to work, there was still a fallback that if they didn't make their bed or if they didn't, clean up after themselves, somebody was sort of helping them clean up, which did a disservice to them. But it was so helpful for me because I had 2 babies, plus I was full blown really trying to focus on the masterclass and building this community. I think it would have been really hard for me to be able to not that have help and still be able to build the women's school. I'm just giving you, I'm laying down actually why I'm saying this. So why is this important? Because my children, we haven't had help in a couple of years. And the reason being, well, because I felt like Ryan really felt like the children were getting entitled. And I was in tears about it because I'm like, well, but it really helps me. So I've had to really kind of slow down on some of the things that is needed of me at work, but that's okay because I think what the most important thing is the home life. And so, but it's just nice to have that extra hand. So we haven't had help in a couple of years. That required transition. So that's what I'm going to, what I mean by that. Our children, maybe when we haven't created an infrastructure and a standard that in this house, you just help. And in this house, you don't complain. In this house, you work with a smile on your face. And that becomes a standard. And that has to be sort of repeated over and over again for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. I mean, until it becomes their norm. So that transition time could be frustrating because they're still developing the awareness, the mindset, the skill set of this standard of helping. Now, I don't know the whole situation, but I'm just saying, if this is an 11-year-old girl, maybe she was told not to help a year-old, a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old in their capacity. And so now all of a sudden the expectation is that she's supposed to help when she did not have the training of helping in every step of the way. It's almost like getting mad at our teenagers for not making their bed when 13, but we never allowed them to make their own bed because it was not made well. And so all of a sudden at 13, we expect them to make it really well when we haven't given them the opportunities along the way. I don't know the whole, obviously, your situation, but my point is that could be a transition time for your child to be able to, once upon a time, not have the burden of really carrying the weight of helping to all of a sudden making that the norm. That transition period is something that we as a mother need to recognize as part of growing, as part of actually improving our lives, meaning that for the rest of our life, there's always going to be transition. So they're always going to, have to be in a place of inadequacy, or they feel like they don't have the skill set yet. And our role is to be patient while they're in transition, which leads me to a question, we have to ask ourselves, what about this frustrates me? This morning, Ryan and I were at a conversation, and it was something that he got frustrated with the children. And I was like, Ryan, why are you frustrated with that? It was something so little. Is it really worth being frustrated? And he's like, no, actually it was something so it was not really worth being frustrated, but he was actually frustrated about something else that was happening. So it was sort of compounding. But the point is that we have to ask ourselves, why does this frustrate me? Why does a child's inability to help frustrate me? Children aren't just in transition. They're developing new skills. It shouldn't frustrate us. It should say, you know what? They need new training. But it shouldn't encroach on our mindset. It shouldn't make us less peaceful. It shouldn't rob us of our joy. It shouldn't make us angry. It should be like, they're in transition, and that's just part of motherhood, and this will not rob me of my peace and my joy. They're just developing, and I am aware of that, and I'm patient about it, and I'm peaceful about it. It shouldn't throw us off. The reason why it throws us off, because for multiple reasons. It could be our self-worth, her not respecting mom's command to help out. It could be that we're tired and we really need help. It could be that we don't have the right sort of maybe mindset, of something that frustrates us, and it could be compounding issues, right? But I think that's an important thing for us to reset our standard of, well, I need to really reflect on what things are frustrating, because maybe certain things are really not frustrating, but I'm telling myself a story that it is frustrating. Maybe if I reset my language, my own interior script as a woman, to reset my perspective, because words shape our perspective, then maybe it won't frustrate me. She won't have to feel that frustration. And I am teaching her in the process to develop her skill of focus, of consistency, of being proactive, of helping mom, of being aware of contribution. So now it's not this, oh, I'm going to rob her the opportunity, I'm going to get her upset. It's now, she's just in transition and she's learning the skill, and I can be patient about it. And once upon a time, I didn't know how to be consistent as I am now as a mother. And I can look at her with the eyes of compassion, because I know she's in transition. And it doesn't bother me, right? That's the script that you're saying. It doesn't bother me. It's just a norm. This is us part of becoming nurturers of humanity, is to be patient in the development of the human person, our children, like waiting for that sort of embryo, right? To be like, be 6 months now, be 6 months now. I'm so frustrated you're not 6 months now. I'm so frustrated that you don't have the consistency and skill level to be aware. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't frustrate you, but the frustration should be placed in perspective. It's like, this is frustrating because then I have to do this, and I have to do this, and I have to, I don't have any help. Great. But it shouldn't throw us off. It should be kind of like a 5-second frustration. And it's like, you need to go in the back. Clearly, you're not really paying attention, or you're not really helping. When you're ready, you can come back. And then you're like, that's it. Like, it doesn't have to be a huge deal. Strategies: set the expectation before you go to the grocery store. I'm just going to set the expectation. We're going to this grocery store. I need you to help with this particular thing and this particular thing. You set them. You empower their capacity to be contributors of that grocery. And then you set boundaries and you say, when we're there, we're not asking, I'm not buying any treat, I'm not putting stuff in the cart that's not mine. Those are the rules. And that's important because we don't want to overpay or buy things that we don't need. Great. Now they're walking in there with clarity of expectation, healthy boundaries, but also they know what they're needed for. Okay. And so they feel sort of this sense of burden of me, because she probably wants to contribute. She maybe doesn't know how to say yes, maybe is wrestling with her own ability to do it. And my kids do it too. Like, I know that helping with, emptying the dishwasher will make them a better person someday, but in the moment they're complaining. Okay. They're not necessarily complaining with their words, because in my home, it's just illegal. And yes, they do it, they do it, they're kids. But for the most part, I police complaining, and I get really kind of frustrated with their lack of language. It's probably not the right word, not frustrated. That's not the right word. I get very clear about my expectation of their language. So it's not frustration as it is. That's not the language that we use. We need to rescript. So that's what that's what I dealt with in terms of constantly, like a broken record. It's like, when we work with a smile with our face. Contribution is part of a way of life, right? So I think setting that expectation, and I think that in this particular situation, the script would be, and that's my question, is that in our house, we contribute, because that is how we're going to live a more peaceful life. And when someday you're gonna have to contribute too. It's not optional, okay? You have to do it's not optional for this house, and because I need you. And so you have two options. You can either contribute by pushing the cart, or you contribute by helping me with this. But not contributing is not an option. So you're giving them two choices, and you can make up those choices. Maybe they're putting vegetables or whatever that would be, but it's not an option. And by the way, I need you to turn that frown upside down, okay? And then just say, you know what? I'm just saying to you, but if you're going to continue with this attitude, then you probably need to go to bed early. You probably need to rest. You probably need less stimulation. And you have 30 seconds to turn that frying upside down. That's what I do. I said, you're not a victim. You can turn that around. So it's layering all these standards. I know I've given you sort of different pieces in there, but it's a really good question because I think that we often don't realize the strength of our expectations, our standard, our language, our own ability to manage it as a gift to them. And at the end of the day, it's about equipping them to create a future that allows them to thrive. All right, God bless y'all. If you want to join our New Woman community for free practical life training, come join. If you're already in our TWS community and you want to have deeper accountability, come join our New Woman Masterclass so that you can have a mentor and also a community of women that you are growing with. Share this mission. Our mission is very simple, is that we want to be able to become a how to be a woman school, a supplemental formation school for women in a world that's no longer teaching and valuing what it means to be a woman. So share this work. God bless you all. It's free here in our community and in YouTube training, and it's really there to serve you. God bless.